Hey, you guys, happy Tuesday. Okay, I know that we just had the masterclass yesterday. I'm trying to get both of these set up, so bear with me. I know we just had the masterclass yesterday, but I wanted to hop on today to do another just live video for you on 2020 planning. I am going to be pretty much hopping in the group or doing lives from my Facebook page on like Tuesday and Thursday regularly. So if you are joining us, definitely expect Tuesday and Thursday to kind of be video days and everything like that. So, oh my gosh, today I'm super excited. I've been having this conversation with a lot of my clients, a lot of my business friends as well as myself for, as you're going into 2020 planning and really figuring out what you need in order to be successful, or what your goals are in general, what your intentions are for next year, what your business plans are for next year, anything and everything that is 2020 planning, right? You guys, you have to set boundaries. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the reason it's not just about like setting boundaries for the sake of setting boundaries, but it's really because boundaries are what is like boundaries, policies, however you want to think about it, for your life, for your business, for you personally, for other goals that you have. It really is one of the key factors to creating the success that you want for whatever type of goal that you have. So I want to be really clear, like this is one of those things that is going to help you create the success that you want. So if you have not set boundaries before, perfect. Now is your chance, right? We're going to kind of go through, I'm going to give you some ideas and kind of walk you through what this looks like, things that I have done in the past for boundaries. This is always too, I just want to like be upfront with it. Boundaries is one of those things where, you have to create a new habit. You have to kind of stop doing old habits, like not having the boundaries and what's happening instead, and then replace it with a new habit, right? So it's just like any other habit, you have to really practice these boundaries in order for them to be sustainable for you and actually have, success moving forward with them. So a good way to do this is to, of course, like any other goal, write these things down, right? Like get really clear. Hey, Kristen, thanks for hopping on. You guys, if you are on here, if you are live, please say hello. Sometimes I can't always see it as well. So say hi if you are here. Of course, if you're watching the replay later, just let me know, #replay, that you are watching and I will follow back up with you. I'm super excited to share this with you guys today. Let me know if you have any questions through the process, or if you have any ideas. Hey, Sarah, thanks for hopping on. I hope you're feeling better. Okay, so boundaries and setting a practice. So like any other goal, like any other 2020 planning goal that you guys are doing, I want you guys to write this down. You can write it down, you can put it on your vision board, you can have it be kind of a separate list, like whatever is going to help you, but you have to write it down so that you keep coming back to it. And then especially for boundaries, like how can you make it, or habits in general, like how can you make it even easier for yourself to adapt? I just realized that my phone was sitting on my computer and you probably couldn't hear me very well, so I apologize for that. How can you even like schedule it into your calendar or make it easier for yourself to adopt that new habit and actually be successful with it, right? So if it's like something like, well, just as an example for a habit, like wanting to wake up and go for a walk every morning or exercise every morning, like get that on your schedule, lay out your clothes, right? Like set out your iPod if you need that to go work out. Do all of the little things to help set you up for success that's going to make that habit something you are going to do that next morning, right? Same idea goes for boundaries. Make it easy for you to remember your boundaries, set them, especially in some cases where it can be really hard. So what do some of these boundaries look like? Let's jump into that. I would love any of your ideas. Hey girl, hey, love that. Any of your ideas, okay, so let's think about this. So for boundaries, like I want you to think about, let's think about your business first of all, because there are so many boundaries, or you can think of them as policies that you can implement, or especially if you haven't already, to help protect your time, help protect your energy, especially when you're working with clients or you're talking to them to potentially work with them. or you are working with them already, a lot of this stuff, especially for policies, may go into your contracts. So think of some of those things as like non-negotiables, things that would go into your contract for the way that you work. So for example, making sure that, so for my photography business, for example, I require a signed contract or like a photography agreement to book the date and a paid deposit, right? The reason why I take those or have set that policy, that boundary, is because, I've had people cancel on me in the past or be really like, not have dates set down, and then I get another ask for a date or things like that. And like all of my energy, let alone time, is like being spent on trying to manage all of those things when I don't really know if a shoot is booked or not. So in order to actually book the shoot and save the date, especially for weddings, since they're so far out, I require like having a contract and a deposit invoice paid for a certain amount that is non-refundable. So they know that they can't really cancel the date without, like I'll still be able to keep that deposit. Like that's why it's there, right? So like that is very much a policy. That's a boundary. Another piece of that is depending on the photo shoot, like they only have, if they cancel or they want to reschedule 48 hours before, they can, like if it's before that, they can do that. If it's within the 48-hour time frame, then there is a rescheduling fee, again, for the same purposes of like saving my time and energy and being able to be focused on my other shoots and other clients that I have too, is having that as a boundary. So then respecting my time, right? So how can you do that to your business? Is it, do you have clients canceling on you all of the time, sometimes last minute? What policies or boundaries could you put in place for that, especially to get in your contract, you guys? This is super, super helpful. For, how do they book with you when you're working with them? What's expected of them? Like really being specific in your contract about that. How will you have calls with them? Will they contact you at any time of the day, or will you be working set hours? This one is huge, you guys, especially if you do any sort of like assistant work or anything that's like virtual, where you might work, say like whenever you want to, you make your own schedule, but the times that you respond are like during these certain hours. So clients can't be contacting you asking for something like on the weekend and want it like immediately. What's your turnaround time? What does that look like? How long does it take you to get a project done or to respond? Like setting those expectations up for your clients is only going to help you, right? Putting those in your contract so they know, signing up with you to work with you, that's what's expected of them. This is what they can expect from you. And they're agreeing to that. Like that's why you have a contract in place, right? Stop saying yes to every last minute, same day appointment. Perfect. Yeah. Like booking 24 hours in advance. That's huge. Unless you make, a request for that otherwise, but that is like a standard or a boundary. I love that. Too much stress to get across town. Totally. Especially since you have to travel to them. I will work for them. I will work them in if it doesn't stress me out or interfere with home life. Totally. I love that one. That's a great one. And to be honest, I love this because usually setting a boundary or setting a policy in your business, putting something in your contract, is usually because it's something that we've experienced as a business owner. And then we realize we have to set the boundary because we can't allow that to happen again. This is usually how it works. It would be nice if we knew everything that could potentially happen and protect ourselves that way. But usually it's after the fact that you experience that one time and you're like, oh my God, this cannot happen again. Like this was terrible. I didn't like this at all. Like that's when the boundary comes in, right? So a lot of the times you kind of have to learn by trial and error for boundaries. But moving forward, like how can you just think about those things a little bit differently? So maybe you can be a little bit more proactive about them, especially in relation to your business, for your clients, having expectations, having really clear guidelines around when you work, how much time you need to do something, or how much time before, or that they need to book a session before or book an appointment before with you, what that looks like. What about payment? Oh my gosh, you guys, payment was something I struggled with when I first got started, was really making clear. So for my photography clients, I'll use both because I feel like it gives you a good example for both. But payments, you guys, it used to be just like, I was kind of lax with payments. I kind of expected people to pay me on the day of the session at least, but that definitely wasn't clear in my contract for a while. This was when I was first getting started. So getting really clear on like, what do you need up front? Do you require a deposit in order to start the work? Do you require the full amount before you start the work? What does that look like? When you are done with the service, like, are you expecting them to pay that day? What about if they pay late? Will you have late fees? What does that look like? Is it on a percentage basis? Will it be a flat fee? Like, what does that time frame look like? You guys, boundaries and policies around payments are huge, especially if you are like introverted or you really hate having like money conversations right now. Having policies in your contract to support you in this is just like, it makes it that much more easier. I pulled up to a house and was 30 minutes late due to traffic trying to race to her. She canceled while I was pulling my equipment out. Oh, that's horrible. Yeah, so definitely having something like that happen and then just realizing like, you can't work like that, right? It's not good for you. Obviously, she probably wasn't happy that you were late, but you were trying to accommodate her at the same time. So it just doesn't work best for your business. Like, what does your business need you to do? What policies or boundaries does your business need you to set? So going back to like the payments, so like having, for my photography, like their deposits due the day that they want to book it. The balance is due by the day of their session. They can pay it before, but it has to be due the day of their session. If they are late on that, for every week that it's late, it's like so much of a percentage. It's in my invoicing, it's in my contract, is like added to their balance, right? You guys, and since I switched to like PayPal and it's all like online invoicing with all of my terms and everything, it's been so much easier than just like taking cash or check, which I know can be better sometimes because it's not with the fees, but honestly, just with saving your time and energy around thinking about it or having to have that conversation is just like, oh my gosh, it's just saved me so much. My time and gas. Yeah, totally. So for my coaching, so yeah, it's like, do you take payment plans? Do you require things up front? What do you expect from your clients to get started? Where do you expect your clients to like, how do you expect them to show up? Whatever type of client you work with, right? So thank you guys for the likes. I love it. Hey, John, it looks like you are on too. So like just like those expectations, just being so clear. Here's the thing, you guys, especially with contracts and really setting those policies is the reason you have it in there is so that you can protect yourself, you can protect your time and energy, and also your business around the services or products, usually a service if you have a contract, that you provide, right? But you can always choose to be flexible with those as it comes up. So I realize that like, things happen crazily and you'll talk to a client and you're like, hey, it's okay. Like, just pay me this week. It'll be fine. Or, something comes up and they didn't get you the information that you needed to do the project or whatever it was, right? Like, things do come up. So you can always be a little bit more lax about the things in your contract. However, you are protected by your contract for saying those things in there. So that's the reason that you want it. I won't get into any more like legal stuff in that matter, but that's like, this is why you have contracts. This is why you put all of those boundaries or policies into your contract so that you're protected with that. And also your time and energy, not having to worry about those things going south or having, these issues with clients that you've had in the past, that these aren't going to happen again. And this is why you have the policies in place, right? And knowing that you run a business, you guys, your clients will definitely get that. Like, this is how businesses run, right? They have policies and this is why. So it's just setting clear expectations. So let's go to the personal side of setting boundaries a little bit, because I feel like these get a little bit harder. So if you have any other questions about setting boundaries, for your business, especially between your clients specifically. Amen. I love it. If you have any more questions about like business boundaries or expectations or kind of things like that, policies, let me know. Let me know if there's anything that you're like, I feel like I need this, but I'm not sure. That's totally fine. But I'm going to jump into the personal side because these are the ones that we forget so often. And there's always more that we can set. And it's just so easy to be so flexible with your time and your energy, especially when it's related to family or friends that you really do want to help, or you do want to like accommodate, or just you feel obligated to, or like whatever the case is, right? So what I mean by this, and I want to like give you some really good examples. That's from, I think I've shared this book with you guys before, but The Art of Extreme Self-Care. You could see it. There we go. This book changed my life. So there's 12 chapters, and I went through this about 3 years ago now. How crazy is that? For like one chapter a month, and it just like changed the way that I just really like respected myself. We'll just keep it at that. But like self-care is huge, you guys. Like this goes really deep in so many parts of it, and it's so much more than just like, you know, getting a pedicure every month or like whatever that is, right? Hey, Larissa, thanks for hopping on. So some of the personal boundaries, I love this chapter because it's called the Absolute No List. So really think about the things that you should be saying no to, or how you can create a boundary so that it protects your time and energy. So I really want you to think about situations in your life, how you work. Sometimes this is even at your job. Sometimes this is with family who expect things from you, or friends potentially. This could be really good too, just as like a side note for friends with your business. I've heard a lot of people lately, like my friends expect me to give them a discount on my business or on my services because we're friends. And that is a huge boundary that you can set. So there's one example if you need that one. And if they don't step off, Karen, oh my God, I love that so much. That's so great. Thank you for sharing that. Made my day. Okay, so some of the personal boundaries. So that's a good one. Let's see here. So honestly, setting boundaries for like, so friends or family that you may not get along with so well. We all know that there are some of those, right? And especially being around the holidays, you guys. So feeling like you need to be obligated to like, you know, show up to events or parties and, you know, get along, quote unquote, with everyone, or really like put your feelings aside or whatever. And sometimes that's fine. However, if you're consistently doing that, you're doing a disservice to yourself, right? Like as a deeper part of self-care, you can't always just put your feelings and thoughts or struggles or anything like on the back burner. You need to like let those, sometimes you need to let them be known. Sometimes you have to have those conversations. And sometimes like it's okay to just like not make it a big deal, because like the holidays, like if it's really not a big deal to you, like it's fine, just move on. Maybe you can go talk to other people at the party instead of having to deal with certain people, right? Sometimes it's not as big of an issue. Sometimes it requires a conversation. If somebody close to you is like really like there is a conflict there and you really need to address it, like then you have to step up and have that conversation, right? And then sometimes, you know, a boundary can really come into that. Maybe it's something that they've done in the past or recently that like really ticked you off or really just didn't make you feel good, and you need to be like, hey, like we can't do this again, and like here's why, like whatever you need to say, and like have a good solid conversation. I'm not telling you to like go and argue with people for the holidays, right? Hey Chrissy, thank you for hopping on. Not telling you to bring up arguments over the holidays at all. That's not my intention. But really like having those conversations and setting those boundaries with people if they're needed. What are some boundaries for yourself? So these are all over the board, you guys. So let's see here. Setting a boundary to like not take phone calls during certain times of the day, or respond to text or respond to emails during certain times of the day. This can be huge. This is a huge boundary I need to set for myself, by the way. Hold me accountable to this. I need to stop checking my email like 8,000 times a day. Ideally, I want to set the boundary of checking it once in the morning, like once around lunchtime, and once before I like log off for the night, right? Like you don't have to check it more than that, and that's okay. So that's a boundary, like being super honest with you guys and transparent. Like these are things I am working on for sure too. There's always new boundaries you can set. So that is definitely one. For your phone, like do you, I have one of my clients like puts her phone in a different room and turns it off or on silent or whatever, like 2 hours before she goes to bed, and like doesn't check it. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like that's a great boundary to be able to have that like away from your screen time and really enjoy and be present in your life, right? So a lot of these will apply to the goals that you're setting. And that's the point of why I'm bringing this up today, is realizing like, you know, what is your goal? Is it to be more productive in your day and like more intentional about how you spend your time on your work projects so you don't have to work all the time, especially as a multi-passionate, right? We get that. So how can you set boundaries in order to do that? So checking my email 3 times a day instead of more, being really intentional about what I am focused on and like having a list to go through, and be really intentional about what I am going to work on and not procrastinate, not put it off, right? Like things like that. Putting my phone, like how I worked today, this is a great example. I turned my phone on silent and actually turned it upside down. So even though it was on my desk, I wasn't distracted by it at all while I worked, which was super helpful. So setting a boundary like that. Some of these boundaries are going to be just for you, and some of them are going to be for other people. So what's another one for like other people? Oh, this is so great. I'm going to share this one because like I said, I want to be super like open and honest with you guys. So some of the boundaries that I'm setting, like I really need, so we have a 2-bedroom apartment, right? This is technically like our kitchen dining room area if you haven't heard. But one of the boundaries I really need to set is, you know, the TV is literally right there. The couch is right there. Like our living room is right here. So knowing that both my husband and I work from home, I really, like, we both have to kind of set boundaries for each other throughout the day, or, you know, for a work day in general, that if we're both home and working and we have very different like schedules or tasks or routines and things like that, is to kind of set a boundary with each other that like, hey, I'm going to be working on this at this time. Like I need you to not have the TV on, or I need you to be working on something at that time. Or like how can we best work that way to like set boundaries for each other so we both can be productive. And hey, Lisa, it's good to see you. And be really like intentional with our time, because we do both work from home, right? So that's a great one. How about like if you guys are in a day job, like setting the boundary of like if you're actually sick, like actually take a sick day, right? Don't just like grin and bear it like so many people do and go to work sick, because you're probably not going to get that much work done anyway because you feel like crap. You're probably going to get everyone else sick. Nobody wants you around. Like just take an actual sick day, right? I set a screen time, I set a screen time downtime on my phone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's great. So it disables it. That's great. I know that your phone does have some helpful tools that not all of us use, that you can set times for that actually like limit your social media time, and it actually tracks it and tells you when you've hit your limit for the day. Or yeah, like Kristen said, where you can disable your screen time, like when you use it. I love that. Disables notifications. I love that. Oh, notifications, right? And wash your hands. Totally, please wash your hands if you're sick. But yeah, like, are you not going to go to work when you're sick? Or if you do work from home, like how can you actually take the day off from your business and take care of you, right? Like that's setting a great boundary for yourself so you can really take care of yourself. Honestly, so if like, you know, weight loss or exercising and things like that are part of your goals, like I'll only eat when I'm hungry, or like I won't eat when I'm not hungry. That's just like a random one in here. What about getting caught up in other people's drama, right? Like getting caught up in the gossip or things like that. That was a big one that I set for myself when I first went through this book, because I am definitely one, I hate drama, I hate gossip, but I was always the person people could come to because I was always like very much neutral. So people thought that they could come and talk to me about the other person or about the issue. And I really realized that I needed to set a boundary for myself to be like, hey, I don't want to be involved in this. And honestly, you guys, that year I had some really tough conversations with a couple people close to me where I was like, I am sorry. Like, I know you're going through a lot. I'm here for you, but at the same time, like, I need to fully pull myself out of the situation because I can't be involved in this. And really set that boundary for yourself. And sometimes it's a lot harder than others, especially if it is like a close friend or it's a family member. I had definitely an incident with a family member where I had to be like, hey, like, I am fully here to support you, but I cannot be involved in the middle of this anymore. Like, you have to leave me out. You have to figure it out on your own. Like, I'm fully here to support you, but like, I can't do it anymore. How can you set a boundary like that? Again, this is totally about protecting your time and your energy. And that is such a great way to do it, especially when there's family or friends involved. What about just like an obligation to spend time with friends and family, especially for the holidays and things like that? This was something I definitely had to set too, is, you know, I can't just, whenever my phone died, whenever like our in-laws or whenever family just invited us over, to just say yes all of the time, right? Part of this goes into like, what can you say no to? What should you say no to? How can you create that boundary for yourself? And not just feeling like we're obligated to like, you know, go to every single holiday party or be everywhere for the holidays, or just, you know, come to everything that we're invited to, right? Like, really being intentional about like, hey, like, we can't do that day, or like, I am not feeling up to it. And I really don't want to go. So I'm going to set the boundary and actually say no to this, right? That's okay. It definitely takes some work to be able to say no with grace that way. But again, you guys, like, this book, it helps you with that. But also, like, I've done other trainings and stuff on that before too, because saying no is so, so powerful, because it's the choice that you make, and you don't have to say yes just because you feel obligated or because people feel like you feel like it's expected of you, or that you want to help them. It can come from a really good intention too, that you just want to help them, but maybe you can't take it on right now, and that's okay. Setting that boundary. Let's see here. What are some other ones? I love this. This is kind of a fun boundary, but like, what about keeping those clothes that you hope to fit into someday, right? Like, some of those old clothes, you're like, oh, I'll wear these again, or I'll use this, or like, once I blah, 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 like, I'll be able to fit into this, right? Getting rid of those, just treating yourself with some new clothes, if you can, that fit, and setting the boundary of like, I won't do this again. Or, you know, I try to, oh my gosh, if it's something that I haven't used for like, say, a year, especially if it's been in a box packed away and I haven't used it for like at least a year, I probably don't need it. I'm not going to save it. So that's a boundary I set for myself a few years ago when we moved. Investing time in relationships that you aren't aligned with, and it's not who you are or you want to be. This is huge, you guys. This can mean friendships a lot of the times, especially if you're a business owner and you are really, or just have like a lot of goals and potential that you want to step into, and you want to, you know, focus on your personal development, focus on your growth and your business and everything like that. And you are really working on bettering yourself, and you have a lot of other friends that maybe aren't. They're staying stuck in like the gossip, the drama, they're staying stuck in their situations. Sometimes you have to pull yourself away from those friendships. And I know that that's really hard, and obviously it's like easier said than done, right? I'm not telling you to just like go dump a whole bunch of friendships, but like, if that's not the person you want to be, and it's definitely not who you are right now, then maybe you need to definitely set some boundaries with them, or especially about like what you talk about if you do get together with them, that you won't talk about drama or gossip because that's not you, or, you know, things like that. You can set boundaries with them, or maybe you just really like limit your time, or potentially like move on from the friendship, right? I know that's, again, easier said than done. Jumped on late. What is the title of the book? Chrissy, it is called The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson. Love this book so much. You can totally get it on Amazon for pretty cheap, I think. So great book. My closet is so full of that. Yep. Totally. We all have like those clothes where like, oh, but this is so like, I want to keep this, and like, maybe I'll fit into it. Nope, just get rid of it. Go get some new clothes you feel really good in, because that's going to help your mindset even more. Let's be real. Going through that right now with friends. Yes. Yeah, Chrissy, I totally hear you, because especially as a business owner and someone who's like, so focused on personal development in general, it's really hard because you outgrow a lot of friendships, or relationships in general, right? Sometimes that's family, sometimes that's friends, sometimes that's relationships. It's really hard. And you either have to like have a conversation with them to set boundaries, or just to really talk about like with where you're going and kind of what you expect from the friendship a little bit, and see if they can kind of meet you halfway, or if they want to come with you. And if they don't, like, that's okay. And sometimes you just have to move on. That can be really, really challenging, especially if you're a person who doesn't like change. I'll be honest, like that's something I've gone through with friends, but it's like I actually kind of enjoy change, so it doesn't affect me as much. But like, say my husband, he's had that happen a couple times with some friendships, and change is really, really hard. So like if change is hard for you, this may affect you a lot. So like it can be necessary at least to have like the conversations, but just know yourself that like if this is a boundary you need to set with friends or family and have conversations like this, that you need to dive into your self-care like even more to protect your energy around knowing how you're going to feel afterwards, right? Like knowing that it's going to be a struggle going through this change, to even better support yourself as you go through it. I hope that that makes sense. Totally feel you there. Let's see here. What about like, I don't know, just like what other goals do you guys have for next year? I would love to hear some of your guys' examples of goals, so then we can dive into like what boundaries do you need, right? In the meantime, I'll keep reading a few more. Let's see. Lots about gossip. Nobody wants that. What about just asking for help? Right? Oh my gosh, can I get an amen to that? Dealing with like difficult situations or challenges or struggles alone, really setting the boundary for yourself that you won't do that anymore, right? You won't go through you won't go through these things alone anymore, that you can actually ask for support. You can ask for help, whether that is from a significant other, maybe that's from a close friend or family member, or maybe this is for your business and you've been struggling with it and you need to ask for support from someone who can help you move your business forward, whether that's a coach, maybe that's a strategist, maybe that's just a business friend that you have, whatever that looks like what about just asking for help? Love that. Stay away from the energy suckers. Amen to that. Oh my goodness, set your boundaries there. Ooh, you guys, this can happen so much at work too. If you are in a day job, there are so many energy suckers, can I tell you? Every work situation, like there's always those people, right? So like, how can you really be clear? I was actually having a conversation about this today with one of my clients. Like, how can you really set boundaries with some of your coworkers or even your manager to just outline like, hey, like I really don't have time to just stand around and like chit chat when usually like the gossip comes up, or I've had coworkers in the past who just like to chat, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. I'm like, hey, like, what do you need? Or just like your body language says a lot too. Like, don't turn to like get relaxed and have a conversation, but actually be like, hey, like, what can I help you with? And like, know that you're working, right? If this is with your boss, like having real conversations about like your workload and what, if something is overwhelming you, if it's too much, things like that, like being able to set boundaries about how you work best or what you can take on and what you can't, and being open in your communication about that. There's so many things I could say about the workspace, right? Some of them are business friends, as I decided to step back from one of the businesses I was doing. That makes sense. I've had this a lot with clients or people that I've talked with, especially that maybe have done like a network marketing company in the past, and now they are pursuing like their own business instead. And sometimes there can be a lot of like, I don't know, especially if it's that case, Chrissy, I'm not saying it is, but just like depending on your situation too. Just really like, ask yourself if these business friends are are they people you want to keep around in your circle? Are they supporting the person you want to become even more in your business? And if not, like, how can you set that boundary for, thanks for the likes. How can you set that boundary with them? Like, will you kind of like limit the amount of time that you talk to them? Maybe you talk to them, like you check in with them once a month to kind of keep it friendly, but not enough to like really take up your time. It is network marketing. I see this happen a lot, to be honest. And I know that I'm not saying anything bad about like network marketing companies at all. I'm just saying this is something I see a lot, where there can be a lot of like kind of like hostility with people who decide to go a different direction or don't align with like that company's values, product, service, like whatever it is, right? Sometimes you just make the decision to go a different direction, and that's okay. And sometimes that can be really hard for a lot of those people, especially if, like, let's be real, if it's network marketing, they probably want to like keep you on their team and like all of that too. So I feel like that's a part of it. So how can you like step away, set a boundary, or potentially break those relationships that best serve you in a way that's like a little bit selfish, right? Because you do have to set that boundary for yourself, but at the same time in a way that's like really coming from a place of like, I really need to do this for myself. Like, I so appreciate like the time that we have, worked together or been on a team together or whatever that looks like. Like, I totally support all of the advice or anything, anything you want to say, like coming from that place of like appreciation, but then also like saying what you need or saying what the boundary is, right? I hope that that's helpful. I have seen that happen quite a bit. And I'll just come back to like the whole idea of like, if you're a person who struggles with change, really support yourself or ask for support from other people to help you through this, because it's definitely going to be something that's more challenging to actually have that conversation or actually like move forward in that and set the boundary instead of just avoiding it, which is typically what we like to do if we're worried about it or we don't like change, right? So I hope that helps. What else? I don't know. There's so many possible ones. Like, seriously, I want you to think about your goals that you have for next year. So maybe it's for your personal development. Like, what are your goals for you personally? Is this to really, step into your career, your field, really be a better, I love all of the hearts, really be a better person in your business, like business owner? Is this to get better with like your bookkeeping, right? Sometimes that's a struggle, or certain parts of your business and really step up that way. Sometimes this is just like simply like being a better wife or being a better like family member in general, right? Being better for your own self-care. I know a lot of people struggle with, and this was totally me before I read this book, a lot of people struggle with just setting time aside to take care of themselves or honor what they want to do or take care of themselves, right? So you guys, self-care can look anything like setting time aside for yourself to like meditate when you need to go for a walk, to do the exercises that you want to do in the morning in order to feel your best, to really like paying attention to what you eat and what you put in your body so that you feel at your best. And maybe that's, helping you lose the weight that you want to as well. So being really conscious about that. What else? Attending conferences, attending trainings, or working with a coach, working with someone to get you to that next level. Maybe that's in your mindset. Maybe that's for your business. Maybe that's for your finances and getting control of those. What are some of your goals for next year, and how can you put boundaries in place that are going to help you get there and actually help you achieve those things? I would like to find additional income streams that don't drain my bank account. Okay, can you say a little bit more about that specifically? What do you mean by draining your bank account? And that I can be passionate about, but I want something that's not MLM or network marketing. Totally. So, Sarah, so many ideas. No. So Sarah, I know that you are a massage therapist, and you also, now I can't remember which one, I think it's Lyft, but you drive, right? So I know you have those, you might have more. I know about those two specifically. So what about just looking in Okay, this is just going to be ideas and then we'll go back to boundaries. But what about like looking within your massage business? Is there anything you could do that's more, a little bit more like passive that you could, that either your clients would be interested in or potentially like a new group of clients, like maybe other massage therapists? I don't know if you have to be like, I don't know what all the rules, restrictions are and stuff around like massage therapy and like teaching. Like I know I've seen before like where you can teach or like have a course on how to like give your significant other a better massage or like things like that, or little things that that people could download of like how to get yourself out of pain, like in between massages, or like little kind of things that you could do there, just ideas. So what do those boundaries look like? So if it's something that's that you're worried about like not draining your bank account, what do those types of expenses look like? And how can you either like better budget for those in your business, potentially work those into your pricing, right? Or let's see here. I'm trying to like think about like generically like what this means without knowing all of the details, right? So what are some of the other boundaries that like you could set for yourself to like do that, right? Maybe that's just like whether it's like your expenses in your business or like personally too, and like how can you maybe better budget, or I don't know, like I'm just diving into a few things, but I hope that that helps a little bit. Oh, I see your other comment. I say that because whenever it's mentioned, I get swamped with MLMs. No, totally. No, I get that. And honestly, like, you know, if there is one that you believe in and like you like their products and you could do that, I feel like you already do that with maybe an essential oil. So like there is a time and place for that, right? But I see what you're saying too. So like how could you use your expertise to do something that doesn't require your time all of the time, just like your massage does, that you could maybe branch out on these other ideas that maybe you could spend your time on once and then potentially like sell that. Does that make sense? I hope that that kind of gets some ideas generating possibly. Kristen, I want to try to attend a photography workshop. I love that. So that's great. Trying to bring this back to boundaries too. So if you want to attend a photography workshop, I'm guessing that your goal is to become like an even better photographer, right? So what are some of the boundaries that you need to set in order to do that? Do you need to budget better in order to save up for that workshop? Do you need to really set time around, maybe it's like weekly or monthly, exploring your camera more, or doing some shoots for fun to really use like what you'll learn in this workshop, right? Like different boundaries. Again, like I'm trying to bring it back to that, right? It doesn't exactly what I may need. Good, Sarah. Yeah, really think about like, okay, what expertise you have, whether it's massage related or honestly completely different, that you could potentially package up that someone needs, that you could create once and like sell that, right? So like I have a lot of workbooks. I have like a course that took a lot of time to create initially, but now it's more of like a little bit more passive because I don't have to spend that time teaching it to someone because the course is built, right? So like, are there things like that that you could do? Definitely budget, Kristen, totally get that. So how could you, are there any other like additional boundaries, like working? So this is how like you kind of work backwards from this, knowing you want to be a better photographer. So in order to do that, you want to attend a photography workshop next year. So in order to do that, right, you need to budget better. So in order to budget better, like where do you really need to start with that? Are there places that you can look at your spending and realize kind of where your spending leaks are? Kristen, I have a money planning toolkit you might love for that, by the way. I'll be sharing that in January, which I'm really excited about. Spoiler alert, but that might really help too. But like, what are some of those other things? So does your budget mean that like you can only eat out maybe twice a month instead of like whenever you feel like it? Usually that's a big one, so I use that one as an example. Or is there anything else that like that you don't use that you could potentially save money there, right? How could you save maybe every month a certain amount to work up to whichever photography workshop you want to do? just throwing out examples, but that's a great example on how you can work backwards to see what boundaries you need to set in order to achieve that goal. That's my point for today, you guys. That's really what I wanted to get across and really share with you guys, is why these boundaries are so important. It's not just about like, you know, going crazy and setting all these boundaries for yourself so that you like work in a bubble, right? No, it's like really meant to protect your time and energy and help you achieve the goals that you want even more. Hope that makes sense. Oh yes, stop with the door dashing. Oh my gosh, yes. It's so easy, right? It's like ordering things off Amazon. It's with like the one-click purchase or whatever. Sometimes it gets out of hand. Ask my husband. No. but seriously, like that's a great boundary. So like, how can you limit yourself to how many times you DoorDash a month, right? And knowing that money instead is going to your savings for the workshop, right? I have one of my clients right now, I have this exercise for her, so I'm going to share this with you too. But like every time, this is a great way to, just as like a fun way to kind of track this, is like every time you think about going and getting DoorDash, is like calculate the amount that you would have spent on like DoorDash and the food, and instead like don't do that and go save that amount of money in wherever you're saving for your workshop. It can be kind of fun and it adds up quick because of our habits, right? So I'll give you that little tip tonight. Go play with that one. It's so surprising how many habits we get ourselves into and how they're so hard to change, how it's so hard to set these boundaries after we've done something for so long. I know just for me, like something really hard to break was telling family and friends no when I really didn't have time. I am definitely one, like I really want to help people. I really want to support them and like whatever it is that they're doing for the most part. So it's really easy for me to just say like, yeah, I'll totally help you with that. And then realize that there's like 1,000 other things on my plate that I really don't have time for, right? And even more so is like, then I get stressed out. Then I get worried about getting everything done and I'm not able to do that. So setting the boundary of like really taking a step back before I take anything else on, seeing if it's something that I really do want to do and have the capacity for before I say yes, and saying no to like everything else that like doesn't align with where I'm going, or if I don't have the capacity and I don't want to do it, like I have to say no. Like that is a boundary I clearly have to set for myself, and continue to remind myself, right? Because it's just one of those things, you get into a habit, you have to make the point to remind yourself of these boundaries. That's why I started this video out saying that, like write these down, get these in a place where you can see them so that you can really practice these and remind yourself when things come up, like, nope, that's a boundary. That's a boundary that I have. Like I need to take a step back and do that instead. Anything else that you guys have questions on about boundaries, especially as you're planning for next year's goals? Anything you've noticed that you have like really bad habits with right now that you could set boundaries for yourself? Let me know. Again, if you guys are watching the replay too, please let me know anything that comes up for you and I will follow back up with you. Words are hard, apparently. Ooh, there's a good one. Are you the type of person that likes to start books and never finish them? Could you set a boundary of finishing a book before you start a new one, right? Like some of them are fun. Some of them are more lighthearted than others, right? But just really being intentional about your self-care, saving your time and energy for the things that are going to move you forward so that you can achieve your goals around your business, around your life, whatever those goals look like for yourself. Especially if you're running multiple businesses like me, you have to be really clear on your boundaries. And this is why, otherwise you are going to spin your wheels. You are going to be exhausted. You are not going to have enough time in your day to do everything that you want, and you're not going to hit your goals, right? So this is why we definitely have to set boundaries and recognize them, be really aware about where we can set boundaries so that we actually do it, so that we do have time for the things that we truly want to be doing, right? And the energy. Let's be real. We have to have the energy in order to do it too. Okay, the book one is pushing it. It's so true. But how many of you guys have done that? I know I'm bad at that. This year I have read and finished more books than I think I have in my entire life like this year. So I'm pretty proud about that one. But I had a problem before, I should say, of like starting books and not fully finishing them. So that's me. But okay, this was so much longer, but thank you so much, you guys, for just being here and your participation and just like walking through this. I love this so much. It seems like this is a really good time for people too. I'm guessing like you're off work, you're probably at home, and able to dive into this a little bit more. So I am going to, at least for the time being until I hear differently, going to plan doing live videos here Tuesdays and Thursdays, probably about 6:30ish. To really dive into different topics. Some will be about business, some will be about life for sure. All of the good stuff. Lots of 2020 planning this month, so be ready for that. If you haven't seen any of the other videos yet, go check them out. They are either on my page or in the group. So much good stuff, you guys. There's always so much to consider and think about going into the next year, because I want you guys to hit your goals. That's the part of it. It's not just about setting a New Year's resolution and letting it slip by and like you don't change anything, right? It's actually getting intentional and moving you forward in your biggest goals. I want you guys to move mountains. You guys have so much potential in just everything that you're doing. I get so excited when I talk to each of you and just learn more about your business and your goals and where you want to go, even if they are super big and scary and it feels scary to say them sometimes. I totally get that. But that's what like lights me up and gets me so excited. And I fully am here to support you. So please let me know what questions you have. If you have any specific thoughts or ideas about what you need help with for 2020 planning or any other types of videos that I should do, please let me know. Like reach out to me, leave it in the comments, whatever works. But I love chatting with you guys. So thank you again for being here. If you're watching the replay, I will definitely follow back up with you. So let me know your questions. Let me know your boundaries you're setting. I will follow back up with you about boundaries and how you're doing probably next year to make sure that you're actually doing them. So keep me posted, you guys, and feel free to reach out. So thank you again. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday night, and I will see you on Thursday for the next one. Bye, guys.